name's Andy Taylor. I'm a former professional footballer. I played professional football for about 10 years. I finished playing professionally about 4 years ago, in which I embarked on a degree, of which I'm nearly at the end of this summer in June. So yeah, I'm on to another stage of my life now, and really enjoying it.
Fantastic. Andy, can we talk about your professional career? How did it all begin, and where?
It all began when I was 8 years old, I'd say. I started playing for my local team, youth team, which was Alphington Football Club, which is based in Exeter. And when I was 8 years old, my dad actually rang Man United and said, "Will you come and watch my son? I think he's got a talent." To which they sort of said, "Well, he's too young, and because of where he lives, we can't actually do anything at the moment, but we'll keep his name on file, and we'll keep tabs on him." My dad obviously said, "Look, I know you probably get a lot of these phone calls," he said, "but I really do think that he's got talent." So it kind of started from there. I then was playing in a five-a-side tournament when I was about 11 years old, and there happened to be a QPR scout there as one of the parents running another team. Liked what he saw, and said that he would sort of like to keep tabs on me, really. And then when I was 13, I was actually invited up to QPR for a trial game. And with that, actually at that time, Jerry Francis, who was the first team manager at QPR, had just moved over to Tottenham to become the manager at Tottenham. Therefore, all the scouts and the scout network all moved with him. So I was then the next week invited up to Tottenham. Wow. So I played a game for Tottenham, and then went back to QPR the week after. And then Tottenham invited me up again and sort of signed me on a year's contract, to which I'm not sure how the rules really worked at the time, because I was still under the age of 14, and under the rules you couldn't sign for a club until you're 14 if you were more than an hours and a half drive away from the club. Alongside that, so I started playing at Tottenham from the age of 13 for that season. And my dad then rang Man United again, and Man United was really the club of our family, really. And Dad's a big supporter, in which my brother and me became big supporters of Man United as well, so have supported them sort of all our lives. And it was always the club that I dreamed of hopefully playing for one day. So my dad rang them again and said, you know, my son is now going to Tottenham. To which this would have been 1994, right. I think it would have been. 95 actually. Yeah. It was my first year of high school, yeah, so 95. I was playing for Tottenham for that season. My dad rang him up, said, "This is what my son's doing now. He's at Tottenham, he's 13, he lives in Devon," and to which they sort of said, "Well, he must have something because Tottenham play the style of football that we like to play." So they decided to send someone down to watch me. And it happened to be at Ivybridge Town Football Club. Wow. And I now work at Ivybridge Community College, so it's quite ironic, really. And that was the first time that I was seen by the youth development officer, a guy called Dave Bushell, who's still there now. He saw me that one game, and he said if I was 14, he wouldn't allow me to walk off that pitch without signing me. So you know, that was great news. They wanted to sign me. So I ended up then that summer, and my birthday's in September, so before I was 14, that summer I went to the Bobby Charlton Soccer School, which was up near Manchester. and went to that soccer school so that they could sort of watch me play a little bit then, and sort of just keep an eye on what I was doing. And then when my 14th birthday came at 14 in September, sorry, I was signed on as a schoolboy for Man United.
Fantastic. That would have been 96.
And that was 96. Yeah. Signed, and then was invited up to meet the manager with my family, mum and dad. My grandma came as well. Yeah, so I had a sort of a special day where we go and watch the game, and met the manager and had a photo taken with him signing my schoolboy contract. And so yeah, so my career then started with Man United from the age of 14. So I would travel up on the weekends, play games at the weekend, go up in the holidays, school holidays, until I was 16 years old. And once I'd finished my GCSEs, then I started up there full time that summer. So in '99, the year that they won the treble. So
fantastic.
It was a nice year to be signing sort of full time for them.
Yeah. So that was a very exciting time for you, presumably.
Yeah.
So
hugely.
So at that time, what were your hopes and aspirations, Andy?
My hopes and aspirations, I mean, it wasn't all a sort of rosy ride to get to that point. At 14, I had a condition in my knee diagnosed, which I had to have an operation on, and I couldn't play any sport for 6 months. So I guess since coming back from that, it was always to keep myself fit and to make sure that I could get back to the level that I had done previously. So when I signed at 17, things were starting to sort of come together again, and I suppose my aspirations then were to make the first team, to become, you know, a professional footballer for Man United and play in the first team. That was the ultimate goal. Sure.
And describe then the next few years.
Okay, so yeah, signed at 16. So that was signed as an apprentice. So I signed a YTS 1 year contract, and then at the end of that contract at 17, I signed a 2 year professional contract. So I was then a professional for Man United.
Being paid 30,000 a week at the time.
Oh yeah, I wish. Yeah, unfortunately, not to that stage at that time. But unfortunately, in my first year, my knee was causing me some problems again, so I had to have a minor operation just to sort of sort that out. And then in my second year, I had glandular fever, so that put me out for quite a few months as well. So when it came to my third year of being there, I'd missed quite a bit of football, and then started to regain a little bit of fitness and a bit of form. And then about halfway through that season, my knee just totally broke down. And then I had to have quite a major op, which sort of got to the point after going through the rehab process, because of the amount of time that I'd missed. I was advised by the medical staff there that it might be a good idea for me to actually retire and maybe look at other avenues.
And how old were you then?
And I was 19.
19.
19 at that
Right.
stage, yeah. So that was obviously quite a hard thing to take. That was a major blow.
I know it's painful memories, but can you describe to me how you felt and how your family felt at that particular point, and what you were?
I think
emotions were going through your mind.
I think the biggest thing was that because that had always been the focus, all my energies had all been focused towards football and my families as well. They're very, very lucky with my parents to be very supportive. I mean, they would drive me from Exeter up to Manchester on weekends, and they drove all over the country, sort of supporting me. So they were probably as disappointed as I was with that news. So at that time it was like, you know, your world had come crashing down really. But I was supported well by the staff at Man United, by some members of the first team as well. So I was very, very lucky, and I feel very lucky that I was at that particular club, because the support that I had, the operation and the people doing the operation were the top people. So as it turned out, it enabled me to play further down the line. So I think had I been at another club that didn't have those resources, then I may not have even had that. So yeah, I was very fortunate to have been at that particular club.
What level of guidance and support was there from anyone else or other sources to perhaps help realign your thinking about your future?
I think my brother was really influential at the time. He'd gone through the sort of education process and been to university, and he and my sister-in-law were quite big influences at the time. They were living in Manchester as well, so I was very close to them. And my brother's very, very level-headed, and he gave me quite a lot of guidance at the time, along with my parents as well. But it was difficult for them because they were in Exeter and I was still living in Manchester. So to have my brother so close was, you know, quite a godsend really. And he sort of set out a course for me of, you know, what I could do, the skills that I've got, you know, and how they could relate to things outside of football as well. So it opened my eyes to possibly new avenues that I, you know, hadn't even really contemplated before, because of all my energy had been focused on football. So that was a big influence, and staff at Man United as well. The guy that I said, Dave Busher, earlier, who was the youth development officer when I signed at 14, he then became the education and welfare officer further down the line. So when I was an apprentice, that was his role then. So and he'd been involved in education as well. So I had quite a few discussions with him about what I could do, you know, sort of what my next sort of way to go was going to be. And I then decided that I was going to go to university, so I started a business degree at Salford. But I had very short time in between sort of being told that football had come to an end, and now I needed to think about something else. So I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. I chose business because I thought that would maybe open, you know, a few more doors for me of using my skills. So I started that degree, and in the September of that year, so that would have been 2002, and alongside that I started to play part-time football with a team called Northwich Victoria, which are based up just outside Manchester. So I decided that I wanted to just try and give myself a chance and see how my knee was, because I'd gone through the whole rehab process with Man United and it was feeling okay. And at the time as well, Roy Keane had said to me that, you know, surgeons can be wrong from time to time. So, you know, and you will know your body better than anybody else. So with that sort of advice, I kept that in mind, and I didn't want to just stop there and sort of be thinking when I'm 40 years old what could have been. So I did it very gradually, and started training, as I say, part-time with a club, and while doing my degree as well. As that season progressed, I decided that my knee was feeling good, I was feeling fit. So I stopped my degree at that time, and I decided that I was going to put all my energy into getting back to fully fit, and giving football one more go, so that I knew that, you know, I didn't want to be left with what could have been. So I wrote to lots of clubs, and started to get trials for the start of the next season. And I went to a few different trials at different clubs, and then ended up at the start of that season eventually coming back down to Exeter. Just with finance and things like that, so it helped with living at home again. And then I went to an Exeter City at the time, allowed me to come and train. Unfortunately at the time they were under a transfer embargo after they'd just been relegated from the Football League. So I started training with them, but I wasn't able to play because of the transfer embargo. But the way that it worked was good for me, because it went from playing part-time football then to full-time training, but not playing week to week, which again just helped with the process of just getting back into playing and giving my knee as much chance to sort of strengthen and get used to full-time training again. So the way that it worked out was quite lucky, really.
Yeah, that's great. Going back to when you were at Man United, presumably you came across other players that were having their careers or contracts terminated for various reasons, whether it be playing or medical, sadly.
Yeah.
What was it like, your experience of knowing other players going through this? Because it's such a short-lived profession.
Yeah, it's always it's a little bit easier when you know other people that are going through the same thing as you, because then you've got someone to relate to. You know, they've gone through the same experience, therefore they can understand what you're feeling, and they can understand the thoughts of, well, what am I going to do now? So I was lucky at the time. There was a player that was about 4 years older than me, a guy called Paul Tether, that had been at Man United, and he came with me to Northwich, Victoria at the same time. So he was a little bit further on in his career and played in the first team as well, but had to sort of retire due to injury. So I was quite fortunate as well to have someone like that to sort of bound things off and that type of thing. So that was great help.
What about people that you know that have been in the game that when it comes to the end of their careers and then they're having to look at their futures? Presumably you've come across an abundance of people. But what's your general perception of people when it comes to the end of their footballing careers and having to look onwards?
I think they haven't, a lot of the time they haven't thought about what they're gonna do. They come to the end of their career, it's like, okay, what now? And I've found that in an abundance of cases of players that I've known that, you know, really don't have any clue of what they're going to do once they finish. Even if they want to be a coach, they still wait until they actually finish and then go and do their coaching badges rather than trying to do it while they're still playing. Right. Because there's more than enough time for them to be able to do that. Yeah. I think through my experience as well, there's two things. One, that I always thought that when I was playing that I wouldn't be able to do a degree as well because it would just be too much. But now I'm doing what I'm doing and I look at what I'm doing now and, you know, the things that take up my time, I think, God, when I was playing, I had so much free time that I could have easily done it. The other thing as well is from going through the situation that I had when I was younger about maybe not playing again, the idea of mine and my wife's idea of having a business after I finish has been not something that I've just thought about after I finished playing, but it was something that I was thinking about and preparing for even while I was still playing. Although, thinking about now, I probably could have started my degree while still playing rather than starting it when it actually came to an end. So, but I was at least thinking about it. I knew what I wanted to do after I finished. There was still some thought into, I know what I'm going to go into I know what I need to do to get there as well. So I think probably that's the biggest thing, is what players don't really think about, is actually giving it some thought and how they're going to get there as well.
Sure.
And that needs to come a lot earlier whilst you're still playing, rather than waiting until it's actually done.
Tell me what your biggest strengths are.
I would say I'm quite a personable person. I relate well to people. I've quite a relaxed sort of way about me. I think I make people at ease around me. I'm an enthusiastic character, and I like a challenge as well. I like a challenge, and I like to sort of put myself in a position where it sort of tests me. So I like to try and push forward as much as I can, and put myself in positions that will push me on.
Outside of business, what are your personal hobbies and interests?
I like to play guitar. So although I don't get as much time to play as I used to when I was playing football, but because when you pick the guitar up, it seems to sort of while the hours away, and when there's things to do, that's not always a great thing to or a good habit to get into. But
did you want to sing a song on video now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll go and grab the guitar. What do you want to hear?
Well, if you're serious.
No, you're right.
Can you do the Fleetwood Mac riff?
No.
Okay. Well, you're not that good then, are you?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I only play for my own pleasure.
And who would your favourite music artist be? Who do you really love listening to?
I really liked growing up Oasis. I loved Oasis. I love the music. I like the sort of presence that they had on stage, and lucky enough to see them a few times in concert as well. And
what are your favourite films?
Favourite films? Wow. Gladiators, a favourite film. Any Given Sunday as well, which has the famous speech in it, as a lot of sort of sports people seem to relate to quite well. So I'd say, yeah, they're probably up there. And Braveheart as well, I think would probably be up there, definitely.
And what about comedies? Any favourite comedians or comedy shows?
Quite a dark comedy, The League of Gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like comedy. Jason Manford, I quite like.
Yeah.
There's a few good up and coming comics that I like as well. So.
Yeah. And are there any programs on TV that stimulate you at all?
A program that I'm really into.
The Apprentice? Don't say The Voice.
Yeah, I do like The Voice actually. Yeah, but Dragon's Den. Yeah, I do like The Apprentice. Yeah, The Apprentice not so much now. I think the sort of novelty sort of worn off for me on that one.
This series, yeah, I'd agree.
But I'm really into a program at the moment called Homeland. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard about that. Yeah,
it's quite engrossing.
Yeah.
So
is he or isn't he a terrorist? Do we know yet?
Well, you think not, and then yes, and then not, and I think it might be back to yes at the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. What would you want to do in the future? We're talking about you've achieved a great deal, and give me a little rundown of what you're doing at the moment and where your aspirations lie going forward.
They're probably twofold. One is to grow a business with my wife, and to offer a great service, and offer a service to the general public that we've both experienced through our experience in professional football, and offering that service of treatment and the rehab process all the way through to getting them back to fully functional, and getting them back into full fitness. So that's definitely something that we want to be able to offer in the southwest area, and to be you know, successful with that, and you know, bring a lot of joy to people that are struggling with these kind of issues. So that's definitely a big sort of plus for myself and my wife, is to really give a quality service for that. The other thing is my other job with Ivor Bridge College, where I'm a strength and conditioning coach, is to become a real specialist in youth training, and a specialist in that area, where we can get kids engaged in sport, not only as athletes, but just for general well-being. There's a lot of discussion about obesity in this country now, so just getting kids engaged in sport, making it fun, but also offering as well for athletes and elite athletes, you know, the best possible foundation for them to go and succeed as an athlete, and go and fulfill the potential that they have. So I would say that those are the two sort of major things that I would really like to succeed at.
Excellent. Andy, what would you hope to achieve with this video?
I think to really just put across for whoever sees it to get an idea of me as a person, the qualities that I have, and to really showcase you know, what I have to offer as either a potential employee or business partner, or as a head for whatever initiative that people will want to put in place in regards to sport and participation, using the experiences that I've had as a professional athlete, but also you know, with the work that I'm doing now as a conditioning coach. So I think that's where I'd like it to sort of succeed.